How's it, everybody? Welcome back to Bez's Garage for part 6 of Billy Bob's budget backyard build in the Bay of Plenty. Getting good at that now. So where we're at the moment is we've done the clutch assembly. I've actually pulled the whole thing completely apart, and I'm going to walk you through step by step on how I've done the clutch. I'm pretty happy with the way it's come up, and I always say that because I am. What I always try and do is I try and use what I've got lying around. So I don't normally say, oh, I need a 8mm piece of steel 63 centimeters long. I'll generally go, what have I got lying around? Maybe that will work. So it's sort of the old process of either Kiwi ingenuity or making honey out of goat shit. Whatever way you look at it, that's what we're trying to do. So what I've done is, if we have a look in the chassis here, so we talked last time about putting a mounting in here for the clutch. So what I've done is I've got a piece of steel, and I have just tack welded it at the stage. It's welded in here, so I can now grab the clutch. So what I've done with the clutch itself, so I've still got a long one here. I have spaced these up a little bit to get the right height to in line with the rest of it. So I've checked up the alignment as I've gone. I've welded on a piece to here, and I've got a couple of holes in here, one for the pull push rod and one for the spring to go in. And I've cut this bit out here so it doesn't foul on the steering as well. So very simple. I will probably drill a hole in here and maybe put a grease nipple that comes out here so you can grease it, or I may not even bother, just put some grease on it, and every so often you pull it apart. So that there now slides very nicely on there, and just quickly we'll just put the nut and the bolt on here. I still need to set out a better way of doing this. This is a little bit, just a tad too high, so I'll make it a little bit lower. So what we end up with now is a really good rotating clutch assembly. So the next thing that we need to look at is we need to look at what size belt that we need to put in there. This is always a bit tricky, and people go, oh, I don't know how to do that. So little tip that I use, a little trick which is quite easy. Grab yourself a piece of rope. A similar sort of size to that is good, because you want something that's pretty close to the size of the size belt you're going to use. So you get your bit of rope, you find the end of your bit of rope, and effectively what you're going to do is you're just going to run the rope around the pulley, around this pulley, and then back to here again. And you sort of want to mark that with your pen. Put a mark on there, and then you can take this out and you can measure that length, and that will give you the length of the belt that you want to get. Now I did that, and this one came out to be 79-80 inches. So I went down to my local shop where I buy belts from, which is Garden Forest Marine. Go and see Adam down there. He actually doesn't know I've got this yet. This is a B79, so you can see on the size of here. So we're using a B79. Which is exactly what I measured it out to be, and then we'll put the belt on just to see how it's going to fit, and it comes around. And so we've got the two different belts. We've got the black side, flat-sided one there, and the grooved one there. Put it onto here, and you can see that it actually fits in there pretty well. Now I may be able to go to a 78. I'm not really sure how we're going to end up with how much tension we're going to need on that to get the clutch to release fully. So we're going to start off with a 79, we might go to a 78. So that's fitted in there. So now you can actually see what's going to happen is, as I pull back on this, it's going to tension up this, and it's going to make a bigger surface area on the front, because that's the one where you're going to get slippage if you've got lots of power. And then it's going to end up with still giving us good tension on here. Now this is the side that has all the tension on it. We talked about that with the arrow before, so we don't want anything on this side. Now the reason I cut this out is because when the steering goes fully up and we've got the clutch fully out, we don't want the two to touch. So obviously I checked that before I went too far, and that's solved that problem quite easily. So the belt's in there, and this main part is in there as well. So the next thing that we did was, if you have a look here, this piece here and this piece in here are actually from the original mower, and they have these little plastic bushes in them which look a little bit like this. So these bushes here, and so you can see the little cutout in here. So what it does is it means that by just using those pieces from the old mower, it enabled me to use the same bar that we had, and the same bar has got a little piece on the end of here. Now I quite like the idea of being able to pull things apart. So I've designed this so that this slides through here quite nicely. Right, and then I've made up a push rod here. So the push rod itself is just 2 pieces of tie rod welded together in the middle with a couple of bolts in it. This is the original piece that came off here. I've just modified it to the right size. So basically what's going to happen is that's going to go onto there, and then we'll put the nut on the end of that. If I can find that somewhere here. So I'll put the nut on the end of here. A little bit of a tightening with the old spanner. Right, that should do. And then what we can do is this piece here, the push rod. Now this is all adjustable, so we can change where the pedal is going to sit. And we want this to sit underneath here. So basically there's a little bolt that goes through there into the piece there. And then now we will use nylock nuts and maybe even Loctite as well when we do the final assembly, but for the moment I'm just sort of trying to assemble it up to see how it goes. Where is it? There we go, somewhere there. Okay, so now we've got this attached to this and it all rotates quite nicely. So what I did was this piece, I actually welded a piece of 20mm bar on the end of it. And now where I work we make go-karts as well for the students, and we came up with this design for pedals. It's just a bit of 10mm rod, and you just bend it into a shape and it gives you a pedal. Now the 10mm rod is pretty strong. We've never broken pedals before, and these are young students that get on there and basically give it heaps. So they've lasted pretty well. So I'm going to keep the similar design because it's simple and it's easy. Because I want this to be removable and I want to take the whole thing out, I've drilled a hole through there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to weld a piece on here that's going to sit on there, and we're going to have the pedal that's going to come up through here. And obviously we've got to put it up to the right height, so I've actually got a white mark on there at the moment. So when I weld the piece on here, it's going to scoop around and it's going to stop it from turning. It's going to sit nicely there, and then I'm going to put a thread on the end of here, so that means that I can just slide the pedal out and take the whole clutch assembly out, but it's sitting in the bushes, so that, as you can see, moves really easily, and it's going to be good. So we can still adjust all this to get the pedal sitting where we want and make it work. Now the next thing we need to do is we need to put a spring in there. So what you do is you go out at night and you find your next door neighbour's trampoline, and you find a spring off the trampoline. So this here is going to go up into here. Now the reason I put it in this way is because when this is upside down, this is going to be at the bottom, it's going to be harder for it to fall out. I need to tension that somehow. I quite like the idea of having a threaded tensioner so I can adjust the tension. So I've made this long bar here at a bit of a tie rod. I've welded a piece on the end of it, and this here actually slides through here and hooks onto here, and then I've made a little steel plate at the end, and if I'm strong enough and I can push this through, see how my strength is for this afternoon. Oh, I may not be strong enough to do this. Maybe I'll do this a different way. So I'll put this on here first, and then I will put the nut on the end of it, and then I'm probably strong enough to just pull the spring forward and hook it in there. Okay, so that's now on there. I can wind the back of this and it will retension the spring. So at the moment you can see this whole thing is now fully assembled, and if I push the clutch pedal, the whole thing moves forward, and we have it go completely loose, and then we push it forward and we go back to here again. Now I don't know exactly how we're going to end up with where the actual neutral point is going to be of the clutch, so we'll adjust it to fit once we've got the motor running, but effectively the clutch assembly is now finished, bar some little bit of adjustments, and it's pretty strong and pretty bulletproof really. There's not much thing go wrong with it. So yeah, clutch assembly done on the right side, good area on the pulley, and then we go. So that's how the clutch works. Now the next thing we'll talk about is the brakes. So the brakes will be on the opposite side. What we've got is, again, using the same idea with the pedal. So this is a 20mm rod with an 8mm hole bored through it. This is actually was 2 pieces. So I drilled 2 pieces and then just joined them together with a welder. Now this is a really important part with your brakes, okay? You need to be able to lock up your brakes for scrutineering. You need to be able to come in at a slow speed, hit the brakes and lock them up. That proves that they're working. So the key to that is to get your fulcrum points correct. the longer this is and the shorter that is, the more torque you have, therefore the better the brakes are going to work, the more pressure you'll have. So what I've done is I've got a fairly long pedal here and a fairly short actuator here. So that'll mean that I've got really good brake pressure and I'll be able to do my scrutineering, not a problem. The way I'm going to do this is I've got a bit of steel that I've bent up to shape. So the pedal will fit through here. Oh, by the way, to make these slots and make them look quite nice, drill a hole at each end and then just join them up and then sand them out. Easy as, looks almost like the original one, so make it look nice and flash. So that goes in there quite easily. Again, I want it to be able to come apart, so I've done it like this. So that will go through there. I'm going to weld a nut on the end of it so I don't have to worry about nuts and bolts. That's going to go through to there. And then I'm just going to vice grip this on here so you can see how that's going to work. So we'll get that sitting about in the centre of there, somewhere there, and we're just going to put a couple of vice grips on there. So now you can see by moving the pedal, we've got this nice fulcrum point which is going to give us a lot of pressure onto the brakes. What we're using for brakes is the old Chinese mini bike brakes with the external reservoir. So obviously this has got to go upside down. So we poke that down through there. And then I worked out where this is going to sit and welded a piece on here. Now there's just a couple of nuts on there at the moment. I'll probably make some proper spaces when we get a bit further, but just to show you how it works. So that's going to come onto here and be bolted up here, and we'll do the same with the other one. So that's all just about bolted up and bolted up. And then you can see I've got the alignment pretty good for this. We want to make sure that it pushes nice and straight. So you've got a straight line down through there. And then we just put the... Well, now this will probably have a clever spin or something rather, but for the moment it's just to show you how it's going to work. So there we have the brakes. Now this is actually still not as low as the front of the mower. So, but I am wondering whether I should put a little protection piece over here, a bit of plate or something other, just in case it turns into a drama. I don't think it will, but we'll see. I might have a chat with Billy Bob and see what he wants to do. He might want to have a bit of a plate on there. He might go, hey, it's not going to be a problem. Yeah, that's where we're at now. So basically we've got the brakes fully mounted. We've got the clutch fully completed. We've now got to mount the caliper in the rear for the rear brakes and run a brake line through to check that's all going to line up. And we've got to put a tensioner in for the rod angle gearbox. So that's probably my job for the next week, is to work out how the rod angle drive is going to go through to the main one at the back. Put an extension bearing on the side of it as well to give it a bit more strength. And yeah, we're making some quite good progress. So again, any questions, just hit me up. If there's something you think I can do better, let me know, because I don't know everything about it, but I'm more than happy to take guidance from anybody that can give me some help. Other than that, all good, Baz's Garage. See you next time.